A certain man named Edward wanted to run a printing press, and so went to the bank hoping to access a loan, but was told he needed to raise the sum of 1 million naira as collateral deposit. He didn't have the money at the time, but eventually managed to save it up several months after. While drinking with his best friend Ben, one day, he happily announced that he'd met his target savings amount and that he looked forward to going to the bank to access the bulk loan for his business the following day. The two men cheered to the testimony and had more drinks on Edward's account. Upon arriving home that same night, Edward heard a loud knock on his door, rushed out to see who's knocking, and then beheld Ben panting and sweating with a note of grave urgency and distress. Edward became worried and concerned for Ben, who announced there was trouble in paradise. His daughter had swallowed a needle that evening and needed urgent surgery to save her life. Edward languished between the devil and the deep blue sea. He had to choose between his dream investment and the life of his best friend's little girl. He took a deep breath and then painstakingly coughed out the sum of 400,000 from the 1 million. "This is all I can give," he'd said to Ben. "Thank you, my friend. What can I do without you?" Ben was full of gratitude as he scurried off to the hospital. Edward reassured himself that he would certainly save up the money again. But human life is irreplaceable. This was his consolation. He was happy to save a life. He made a huge sacrifice. The following week, Ben returned to Edward with tears in his eyes. Concerned, Edward asked what the matter was, and Ben told him that his family was about to be kicked out of their home due to his inability to pay overdue rents. Edward was deeply troubled by the news. He had 600,000 left of his target savings, but his friend needed 300,000 to keep a roof over his family. He sighed and shook his head. He couldn't let his best friend go homeless, and so offered to lend him the much-needed 300,000, leaving him with only 300,000. 2 months later, Edward lost his job and began to live off his remaining savings. At a point, he went bankrupt and ran to his friend to recover his loan. But Ben listed out a bucket list of choking responsibilities in addition to his unwavering bankruptcy. Things went from bad to worse for Edward as he lived off his savings. At some point, someone advised him to visit a car shop, buy a car on credit, to be used for taxi driving, and to be repaid by installments. The concept appeared difficult for him because he had no collateral. Eventually, he resolved to give it a try. Upon arriving at the car shop, his application was rejected, as expected, due to his lack of tangible collateral. However, something else happened. The owner gave him the option of bringing a reliable friend who at least owns a car and can guarantee him with the car's documents. He listed his best friend, but told the car dealer that his friend does not own a car. The car dealer glanced at the list, saw the man's best friend's name and contact, then burst into sudden laughter. The man stared at him in confusion. "Why the sudden laughter?" Edward asked with a confused stare, and the man replied him saying, "I know this man. Did you say he is your friend?" Edward nodded affirmatively. "Yes, he is my best friend." The man chuckled with obvious disbelief and asked again, "And you're sure he doesn't own a car?" "Yes, of course he doesn't. If he did, I would have been the first to know." Edward's voice was firm and confident. The car dealer brought his invoice booklet and showed Edward the page of a recent purchase. Edward gasped upon beholding Ben's name on the list. His best friend had bought a car, his name boldly written, and marked as having paid for a car in full. Edward gulped hard on his own saliva. The car dealer frowned at him and said, "Please leave my shop. If truly this man is your best friend, and you don't know that he bought a car 2 months ago, then you never knew him at all. And if you do know him, then it means that he never trusted you. I'm sorry you have to leave. I only do business with trustworthy people. Edward took another look at the invoice. Yes, it was Ben's name in full, and he paid for the car same week he asked Edward for financial support to save his dying daughter. Edward reveled in utter confusion. The facts and figures did not add up. It was literally impossible for his best friend to make such a purchase at that given time, considering the fact that he could confirm how broke he was and, of course, his family problems. Secondly, the fact that he never saw his best friend in or with a new car further complicated his confusion. To help clarify his confused thoughts, the car dealer suddenly said to him, "Your friend said he'd be using the car to run a taxi business." At this point, he understood the whole scenario. His best friend must have secretly hired a taxi driver to handle his car while openly playing broke. End of story. Do you know that if you do not sacrifice your ambitions or sacrifice your business capital to appease that emotional blackmail, the solution would definitely come from elsewhere? Yes, it always does. So don't be fooled. Never sacrifice anything that will keep your dreams alive.
Thanks for watching.